This is the beautiful and unique story of an American man in his 30s who visits a village in the remote Andes of Peru, inhabited only by women of an indigenous tribe. At their request to help them reproduce, he ends up impregnating all 32 women. Before you continue with the story, please consider subscribing and liking, it helps us greatly. Ethan Cole, at 31, had a relatively stable career in the United States. Working in the marketing department of a large corporation in Chicago, he spent his days immersed in advertising planning and market analysis. While enjoying a salary and benefits many would envy, one day he was struck by the question, is living like this forever the life I truly want? Though his daily routine might seem perfectly fine to others, he yearned for something to passionately challenge himself with. Since his late 20s, he had enjoyed traveling, visiting places like Mexico, Central America, and parts of South America during his limited vacation time. He reveled in the excitement of encountering unfamiliar cultures. Someday, I want to dedicate all my time to travel a path others don't take. This dream gradually took shape as he entered his 30s. What if I discover a business opportunity in a truly unknown, remote place and introduce it to the world? Although people around him called it reckless, he eventually made up his mind. Packing his severance pay and savings, he left the company as soon as he turned 31. Initially considering various remote corners of the globe, he came across articles while researching South America about isolated indigenous groups living in the high Andes, preserving their traditions in remote valleys and plateaus of Peru and Bolivia. Among these, some rumors mentioned the existence of an unknown tribe consisting only of women. This sparked immense curiosity. If such a place truly exists, couldn't I collaborate with them on some innovative business? And what unique story might lie hidden in a community without men? Unable to shake these thoughts, he finally slung his backpack and boarded a flight to Peru. After a brief stay in Lima, he immediately headed towards the Andean highlands, aiming for Cusco as a base. He gathered information from backpackers met at local hostels and cafes, and a few NGO contacts focused on indigenous communities, but most dismissed the story of a women-only tribe as a local legend or exaggeration. However, a very small few mentioned, I heard there's a village with almost no men in a steep valley area, somewhere around 7,500 feet elevation, deep in the mountains. I don't know the exact location or name. Ethan soon hired a local Peruvian guide and a rugged vehicle at his own expense and set off on the rough mountain roads towards the remote region described. After 2 weeks of traversing high passes and steep valleys, he found nothing. Was it just a rumor after all? Just as disappointment grew, an elderly villager in a small settlement mentioned a local legend. Long ago, perhaps due to conflict or men leaving for mines or cities, a community of only women sought refuge deep in a hidden valley. Who knows if they still remain? The direction he pointed to was a region barely marked even on detailed maps. People rarely go there. The road, such as it is, practically disappears. Hearing this, Ethan felt a surge of conviction. Yes, that must be the place. I want to try, even if it's dangerous. The guide shook his head vehemently. That's a place even I don't know well enough to risk. How could you? This is as far as I can safely take you. Ultimately, Ethan used the guide for part of the journey and then had to find his way using infrequent local transport, a rented motorcycle, and eventually, only walking. During this process, an unexpected accident occurred, severely injuring the local guide who had agreed to accompany him a bit further. Ethan had no choice but to help him back to an intermediate village and continue the remaining journey alone. It was a reckless adventure that could have cost him his life, but he didn't turn back. I've come this far, I can't give up. Following a narrow river gorge for days, he reached a truly deserted section. The path nearly vanished, forcing him to abandon his motorcycle and proceed on foot. Traversing a precarious trail alongside a sheer cliff, he saw a magnificent view of the river cascading far below, but had no leisure to appreciate it, consumed by the fear, what if the path collapses? Finally, one afternoon, while attempting to cross a dilapidated rope bridge, Ethan missed his footing and found himself in peril. Fortunately, he managed to grab onto the ropes, narrowly escaping a fatal fall, but sustained injuries all over his body and collapsed from exhaustion and altitude sickness. If I don't get rescued here, it's over. As his consciousness began to fade, a light resembling a torch approached from afar. He thought he heard women's voices. Oi. ¿Estás bien? Hey. Are you okay? A voice called out, in Spanish mixed with unfamiliar cadence. Too weak to explain, Ethan merely mumbled, "Help me." When he regained consciousness, he was inside an unfamiliar adobe hut. He smelled of fire-burning coca leaves or medicinal herbs, and his backpack lay beside him. Looking around, a woman who appeared to be in her mid-30s asked with a concerned expression, in heavily accented Spanish mixed with some English, "How much hurts?" "We treat you quick." Ethan tried to sit up but groaned in pain. "Thank you. I got lost." The woman replied, "Is okay. You lucky, alive." Beside her, another young woman watched him with wide, curious eyes. Both seemed to communicate using a blend of Spanish, rudimentary English, and likely their own indigenous tongue. Ethan asked, "Excuse me, where am I?" "This village, our people. The Kuntur people live here," the woman smiled, adding, "No men here, so, you are a surprise guest, maybe?" Ethan's heart pounded. Is this really the place I was looking for? He thought. He managed to prop himself up. "I'm American, and I traveled a long way specifically to come here. Would it be possible for you to take me in?" The woman tilted her head. Our tradition, no men. But see you hurt, cannot leave you. Must talk with village leader, Mayu, and others." That night, Ethan stayed in the hut to recover. He had a fever, but the women diligently cared for him, giving him herbal infusions to drink and applying poultices made from local plants to his wounds. Thankfully, they seem like kind people, he thought, though a flicker of anxiety remained. Could they harbor resentment towards outsiders, towards men? But the atmosphere wasn't hostile. Instead, he sensed a strange, cautious curiosity in their gazes. The next day, feeling slightly better, Ethan met Mayu, the village representative, a woman in her 40s with a commanding yet gentle presence. She explained, mostly through the first woman acting as interpreter, that the village currently housed 32 women, ranging in age from their 20s to late 40s. They were part of the Kuntur indigenous group, and due to various circumstances, likely historical conflicts or economic migrations that claimed or drew away all the men, only the women remained to protect their ancestral lands. "We learned distrust men long ago, live alone, little contact outside," Mayu conveyed through the interpreter. "But you injured, lost. We have duty, help you heal." "Thank you," Ethan replied. "Actually, I came here intentionally searching for this village. I heard rumors back in the cities about a unique community where women live self-sufficiently without men. I came seeking both curiosity and potential business opportunities. Although I had an accident on the way, I managed to reach here." Mayu asked, "Business? What do you mean?" He continued explaining, "The crops you grow, potatoes, quinoa, corn, and the medicinal herbs, the beautiful weavings and handicrafts, these could generate income if sold in cities or even overseas. But you likely face difficulties due to the isolation, the lack of roads, and limited connection to markets. I was thinking of helping you form a cooperative to sell these things. Of course, only if you're willing, and I do have some marketing experience from my life in the US." The village women murmured amongst themselves in their own language, with occasional Spanish phrases filtering through. "Cooperativa? We live without men, never think big selling outside. Maybe he trick us, take money?" Suspicious voices arose. Ethan countered, "No, I assure you I will be fair and share the profits with you. As an American, I don't have local connections here in Peru, but I can help using online platforms, social media, and connecting with international markets interested in authentic indigenous crafts and organic produce. It would be a partnership." After discussing it overnight, the majority of the women, led by Mayu, agreed, "We try. What lose? If stay same, village has no future." Mayu concluded, "Okay, while you stay, we learn cooperative, try sell." However, a few remained cautious, expressing concerns about potential problems now that an outsider man had entered their secluded world. A few days after Ethan began organizing the cooperative, the village atmosphere started to change. He assessed the production potential of potatoes, quinoa, corn, medicinal herbs, and intricate weavings, proposing methods for better storage and resource management. The women were surprised. "We not think that far, just enough for us." They tentatively agreed to start tracking production for fair communal distribution. Ethan also planned trips to the nearest towns, arduous journeys themselves, to investigate logistics and find potential buyers or transport for their high-quality herbs and crafts. Some women volunteered to accompany him, acting as interpreters and guides. Among them, the younger and more enthusiastic ones requested training, saying, "We want to learn too." During this process, it became noticeable that the women were gradually becoming more comfortable around Ethan. Those in their early to mid-20s, finding it novel to interact closely with a man, would playfully strike up conversations in broken Spanish or English. Women around their 30s expressed more serious interest, remarking, "We never work side by side with man like this." Some in their 40s confided, "We live without men so long, no children come. We worry, we just grow old and die like this." They admitted that Ethan's presence and proactive help significantly stirred their hearts and dormant hopes. Then one night, Inti, a woman in her mid-30s known for her thoughtful nature, knocked on Ethan's lodging. "Can talk, moment?" Once inside, she confessed, her voice low, "Truth is, living without men, we cannot have children. Fear, our people shrink, village disappear, is big fear. You come, give everyone hope." When Ethan replied, "Yes, I understand the situation," Inti added, "You know, we need children, yes? But, hard to ask official, very delicate." The meaning was clear, we need children to continue our lineage, but there are no men. "Could you help us?" Ethan's mind raced. Do they really mean multiple women? Inti continued, "Most women here, maybe wish this. But careful, know you only short time. Me. I want child very much. Mid-30s now, soon may be too late." He stammered, "Well, if you all truly want this, and it's a mutual agreement. I suppose I could help, but, this kind of arrangement, so many, how?" He trailed off, overwhelmed. "Please wait, little," Inti said. "I talk with everyone. If agree, we ask you proper. No force. Never." She then left. A few days later, a village meeting was held. Originally intended to discuss cooperative progress and potential sales trips, the topic somehow shifted to, what we do, for future, for children? Many women voiced opinions like, no future without children, and even if outside men come, maybe not stay in this hard place. Then, a radical opinion emerged, voiced perhaps by one of the bolder younger women, but we have outside man here. Ethan Cole. He help us like leader, we trust him now, no? Maybe, he help us have children? Ethan was taken aback. Well, it's sudden, but if you all genuinely want this. He stammered, looking towards Mayu. The women responded firmly, their collective voice represented by Mayu, yes. Need this, rebuild village, save our people. Some suggested refining the idea, maybe not all women, but those who wish, who can still bear children. Someone else worried, difficult for us older ones, maybe 40s, while nearly all women in their 20s and 30s showed eager agreement. Ultimately, they reached a consensus. Among the 32 women, the roughly 20+ who were still of childbearing age and wished to conceive would attempt pregnancy with Ethan, taking turns according to a respectful plan. Once the children were born, everyone would raise them collectively as children of the Kuntur people. Even if Ethan were to leave eventually, the village would take full responsibility for the mother and child together. However, their deep hope was that he would choose to stay and become part of their community. Ethan felt overwhelmed by the weight of the request, yet a strange sense of duty and profound emotion washed over him at the thought that he could play such a crucial role in saving this unique community. Is this really possible? Me, with so many. He ran a hand through his hair, but seeing the women's earnest, pleading gazes, "We must do this way. If you say no, we understand," but he relented. "All right. Let's try. But this must always be based on mutual respect and choice." As the meeting ended, the women erupted in relieved cheers and emotional cries. "We can have children. Our village, not disappear." Ethan managed a complex smile. "They're this determined. I have to approach this responsibly." Afterward, a careful reproduction plan was created within the village, prioritizing discretion and respect. The target group included 10 women in their 20s, 10 in their 30s, and 12 in their 40s. Among the 40-somethings, while more than half were hopeful, they realistically acknowledged the lower probability of conception. Nevertheless, deciding to leave the possibility open, all who wished agreed to try. Recognizing the potential physical and emotional toll on Ethan, they devised a schedule involving rotating 2 to 3 women per week, ensuring he also had time for rest and cooperative duties. The women, with practical humor, also made sure he received the best nutrition, joking, "Need keep our helper strong." For a month, Ethan spent hectic days juggling cooperative work, negotiating deals via satellite phone when possible, planning crop rotations, and spending private, respectful time sequentially with the women. Naturally, complex emotions arose. Some women developed genuine affection and connection, while others focused purely on the hope of conceiving a child for the community's survival. Though emotionally intricate, the village maintained harmony, bound by their collective agreement and a conscious effort to minimize jealousy or conflict. The women in their 20s, often more light-hearted, sometimes remarked, "I'm young, maybe quick baby," and shared moments of warmth and laughter with Ethan. Those in their 30s were relatively more serious and emotionally invested. "Never think, have child like this. So glad you came." Some in their 40s carried a quiet anxiety, "What if too old, no baby come?" Ethan comforted them, "Don't worry too much. Nature decides. If it happens, a blessing. If not, we tried together." They all shared a desperate, fundamental reason: a community of only women without children would eventually vanish from these mountains. "We need future generations." This deep yearning was palpable to Ethan. Consequently, the women took meticulous care of him, ensuring he wasn't overly taxed by providing nutrient-rich Andean meals, quinoa stews, potatoes, corn dishes, and taking turns preparing soothing herbal baths or offering traditional coca leaf chews for energy. Ethan, though still finding this situation surreal, was moved by their collective care and sometimes joked, "With all this support, I guess I have the energy to keep going." Being the only man remained a slightly awkward reality, but the overwhelmingly supportive and mission-focused atmosphere prevented major issues. Thanks to the women efficiently sharing tasks, the cooperative work progressed well. Ethan continued to lead planning meetings, proposing ways to improve yields or find better markets. Once the children are born, he suggested during one meeting, "We need to think about basic healthcare and maybe a small learning space." The women readily agreed, "Yes. When babies grow, village be loud. Need place for them," immediately starting discussions. Meanwhile, unspoken but shared by all, was the fervent hope, "Please let this work." A little over a month later, 2 or 3 women in their 20s reported missed periods and symptoms resembling morning sickness. With trepidation and hope, they used basic pregnancy tests Ethan had managed to procure on a supply trip. The results were all positive. "Estoy embarazada. I'm pregnant." The joyous shouts echoed through the small village as the news spread like wildfire. When other women tested, several in their 30s got similar results. In a short period, news of 5 or 6 pregnancies circulated. "Wow, it's really happening." They embraced each other, tears of relief and joy flowing. Gradually, other women confirmed their status, and when 2 or 3 women in their 40s also received positive results, the entire village was ecstatic. However, some still had no news or tested negative. "Maybe too early, we try more," they decided, maintaining hope. Ethan was stunned. More than 10 women already pregnant. It's unbelievable. A truly momentous event was unfolding. The women laughed, a mix of awe and slight teasing. Is miracle. One man, so many babies coming. Ethan blushed, let's not exaggerate, but couldn't deny a profound sense of having facilitated something extraordinary. The village entered a celebratory phase, and with the increasing number of pregnant women, the need for better food variety and supplements became urgent. They allocated a significant portion of the cooperative's initial profits to buy more diverse food staples and basic prenatal vitamins from the nearest accessible town. They also discussed finding a way to have a nurse or midwife visit regularly, or even stay for extended periods, something now potentially feasible thanks to their budding economic independence. Look how much change, they marveled. Eventually, about another month later, most of the women who had hoped for it succeeded in becoming pregnant. Nearly all the women in their 20s, a large number in their 30s, and about half of those in their 40s who had tried, shared the joyful news. The village instantly transformed into a place bustling with dozens of expectant mothers. On every path winding between the adobe houses, one could see women with gradually swelling bellies, many supporting each other through bouts of morning sickness or fatigue. Ethan tried to check on them, asking, "Are you feeling okay?" But with so many, it was impossible to give individual attention constantly. The women naturally formed support networks, helping each other with chores and emotional needs. "Lean on me, you rest now, I finish that," they'd say, taking turns. Surprisingly, the system worked with remarkable grace and solidarity. In summary, in this isolated Andean village, one American man and 32 indigenous women resulted in over 20 simultaneous pregnancies, a truly breathtaking development. The place, once pervaded by a quiet sense of ending, without even the sound of young men, let alone babies, was now poised to echo with the cries and laughter of numerous infants. Our people, live on. The elder women shed tears of profound relief. When men gone, we think finish. Never imagine this way possible. Ethan himself found it surreal. Just how many children am I actually going to be the father of? Yet, seeing the pervasive, deeply felt happiness warmed him to his core. With mass births expected in about 8 months, the cooperative redoubled its efforts to increase profits. Babies need things, milk if needed, medicine, clothes, must earn now, was the common understanding. Ethan focused on securing better prices and reliable buyers for their unique herbs, potatoes, quinoa, and intricate weavings, marketing them as authentic contour Andean treasures. The response from niche markets interested in fair trade and indigenous products was positive, and the cooperative's income saw a significant boost. The pregnant women, though physically burdened and dealing with the discomforts of pregnancy, were emotionally buoyant. Finally, having a child, such joy. The 20-somethings radiated excitement, while the 30-somethings felt a deep sense of fulfillment. I am finally becoming a mother. Among the 40-somethings, anxiety about high-risk pregnancy lingered, but with plans for better medical support taking shape, they held on to hope. Okay, maybe last chance, do best. For systematic prenatal care, Ethan helped convert a sturdy storage building into a makeshift clinic with several beds. He used cooperative funds and some of his remaining savings to arrange for a qualified nurse from a regional town to stay in the village for extended periods, offering checkups and advice. Pregnant women could visit her anytime. The women also meticulously organized shared responsibilities for farming, weaving, and household chores, ensuring expectant mothers could rest adequately and maintain good nutrition. Although Ethan was the sole male presence, the critical support network was overwhelmingly female. The thought sometimes crossed his mind, more physical labor would be useful, but the circumstances were what they were. One rainy season, unusually heavy downpours caused the nearby river to swell dangerously, threatening floods. Protecting the pregnant women and securing the stored harvest in the cooperative building became urgent. Ethan immediately worked alongside the non-pregnant and less heavily pregnant women, digging diversion channels and reinforcing low walls with stones and earth. Despite laboring in the cold rain, their combined efforts averted major damage. Witnessing Ethan working tirelessly beside them, one pregnant woman in her 40s expressed her gratitude. "Is good, have strong man here help. We women strong too, but you leading, gives heart." Ethan, muddy and tired, replied, "We all did it together. I just helped push." Through such challenges, the village honed its resilience and collaborative spirit. As the cooperative became more stable and profitable, the grand vision of raising children and ensuring the village's future felt increasingly real. By the 6th and 7th months of pregnancy, women cradling prominent bellies were everywhere. "Look, all big now." "Amazing," they laughed, gently patting each other's stomachs. When Ethan passed, they'd sometimes playfully call out, "Hi, Papa," or "Daddy." He felt a blush rise but also a deep, moving connection to the word. As the 8th and 9th months approached, the visiting nurse and the cooperative leadership made thorough preparations for the deliveries. They reinforced and prepared 3 separate dwellings as clean birthing spaces to handle potential simultaneous labors. They arranged for 1 or 2 additional experienced traditional midwives from a related community further down the valley to come and assist the nurse. The women practiced breathing techniques and learned about childbirth from the nurse and midwives, establishing systems for quick support. Although Ethan was the only man, the crucial expertise and comfort came from the collective female knowledge and presence. "If 20 give birth close together. Dios mío, be crazy time," they joked, half nervous. Finally, around the expected time, the first labor began. One young woman in her 20s cried out in the night, "Ya viene. It's coming." The nurse, midwives, designated support women, and Ethan rushed to her side. After hours of intense labor, a powerful, healthy cry echoed through the pre-dawn stillness. "Es un bebé sano." "It's a healthy baby." A wave of cheers and relieved cries swept the village. Just 2 days later, a woman in her 30s went into labor. Soon after, another. On one particularly demanding day, a woman in her 40s faced a difficult, prolonged labor, but with the combined efforts of the nurse and midwives, she safely delivered her baby. It truly became a cascade of births. Over a span of roughly 3 weeks, more than 20 pregnant women gave birth one after another. There were days with 2, even 3, simultaneous or overlapping labors. The scene was one of controlled, intense chaos and profound female solidarity. The nurse and midwives were exhausted but amazed, never see anything like. Whole village birthing at once. Other women rotated endlessly, providing food, water, massage, and emotional support. Tears flowed freely, tears of pain, effort, and overwhelming joy. "We have babies again. Our village, full of new life." Ethan stayed present, offering quiet support, holding hands, wiping brows, fetching water, doing whatever small things he could, deeply humbled by the strength he witnessed. At peak times, all 3 birthing spaces were occupied. The sounds of laboring mothers and newborn cries filled the Andean air, a powerful symphony of renewal. Miraculously, all deliveries were ultimately successful, though a couple involving the older mothers required careful management by the skilled nurse and midwives. After the birth rush subsided, leaving behind nearly 24 newborns, the village atmosphere was electric. The community without men had, in less than a year, welcomed a new generation. Once the births concluded and the mothers and babies had a month or 2 to recover and bond, the village held the most joyous festival in living memory. Never in stories of our people, so many babies one time. Is blessing from Pachamama, Mother Earth. Everyone was ecstatic. In the central plaza, they roasted corn and potatoes, shared hearty quinoa stew, danced traditional dances, and sang songs of gratitude, their voices echoing off the surrounding peaks. The new mothers participated gently, cradling their infants, while others ensured they were comfortable, bringing them food and drink. Ethan was treated as an honored guest, almost a hero. Our Ethan. He helped save us. As the celebration peaked, instead of a specific ritual like Hangari, the sentiment was similar, a spontaneous surge of gratitude. Several of the stronger women and older youths grinned, "Lift him. Lift our helper." Applause and cheers erupted, and though Ethan protested modestly, "You are the strong ones. I just helped a little," willing hands hoisted him onto their shoulders, carrying him briefly around the cheering circle. "Ethan! Ethan," they chanted. Looking down at the beaming faces, the tiny bundles held by proud mothers, he was overcome with emotion. I am part of this. Somehow, I am father to this new beginning. From the moment the baby's cries became a daily chorus, the village transformed. The former quietude was replaced by the sounds of life, infants fussing, mothers singing lullabies, the gentle rhythm of women working together while keeping an eye on the little ones. Ethan, the only man, found his days now partly dedicated to the children. While impossible to be a hands-on father to all simultaneously, he embraced his role. He'd help soothe a crying baby while a mother rested, playfully entertain a group of infants, or simply offer a comforting presence. He continued his cooperative work, often late into the night after the village quieted, his sleep frequently interrupted. Fortunately, the Kuntur women's tradition of communal living shone. They seamlessly shared childcare, household tasks, and cooperative duties, creating a large family synergy. The adage "it takes a village to raise a child" was their lived reality. The cooperative was now generating consistent, significant profits, enough to truly change lives. The village council, led by Mayu, decided to reinvest heavily in the children's future. They formalized the arrangement with the visiting nurse for regular checkups and established a small fund for medical emergencies. They secured vaccines and essential medicines, drastically improving health security. Plans solidified for a dedicated children's house, a space for play and early learning once the toddlers were old enough. Ethan contributed ideas based on his background. As they grow, maybe we can arrange trips to the city? Exposure to the outside world is important too. Long-term, perhaps scholarships for higher education? The women listened, eyes shining with possibility. Wow, never dream, such future for our children. This community, 1 American man, 32 indigenous women, and nearly 24 babies, was truly unique. If the outside world knew the details, it would surely cause a stir, but their remote location continued to provide a buffer. The few NGO workers or adventurous hikers who occasionally passed through were stunned by the sudden baby boom but usually accepted the simple explanation: the spirits blessed us, or we decided it was time for our village to grow again. The women spoke of Ethan with respect. He helped us greatly. It was our collective decision, and our village lives again. Ethan, when asked, simply said, "It was an honor to help this community build its future." As the babies grew into toddlers, crawling and then toddling around the village plaza, their collective babble became the new soundtrack. Some would murmur "mama," while others, recognizing the sole male figure, would reach for Ethan, calling "papa," or "tata," Quechua for father. Ethan would embrace them warmly, sometimes chuckling as he tried to remember, "Okay, which mama do you belong to?" "Ah, right, Inti's little one." The mothers would tease him good-naturedly, "Papa, you forgetful. This one mine," pointing. The communal upbringing blurred lines, creating a sense that, in a way, they were all his children. But the mothers provided gentle reassurance, "Don't worry, Ethan. Primary care is with us, the mothers, the sisters, the aunts. We raise them together." Life became undeniably better, more vibrant, more hopeful. The narrative of hardship shifted. Yes, life is hard in the mountains, they might say, but now we have our children, our successful cooperative, our Ethan, we have a future. The question of future male presence remained open. Perhaps someday they would welcome other men who respected their ways, or integrate more with nearby communities. Some younger women held quiet hopes for finding partners eventually. But the immediate feeling was cautious contentment. For now, Ethan is enough. Too much change too fast, maybe trouble. One crisp Andean morning, under a vast, clear blue sky, the villagers are harvesting potatoes. Toddlers, now steady on their feet, follow their mothers, asking questions in a mix of Spanish and Kuntur, or proudly carrying a small potato, for Papa. When a mother calls, "Careful. Don't fall," the child laughs and runs towards Ethan, who is helping sort the harvest for the cooperative. He scoops up the child and the potato. "Good job. Such a strong helper," he says, ruffling the child's dark hair, receiving a beaming smile in return. With nearly 24 toddlers growing up together, the village buzzes with energy. Mothers take turns watching groups of children, changing woven diapers, settling squabbles. The nurse, now a familiar figure during her extended stays, sometimes sighs theatrically, vaccinating this many little ones, makes my head spin, but her eyes twinkle. Despite the constant work, contentment prevails. The sound of children, the sound we prayed for, makes the heart full, is a common sentiment. The cooperative has achieved solid financial footing, with regular sales of organic quinoa, diverse potato varieties, herbs, and weavings. The increased income allowed them to reinforce homes against the cold, install more solar panels for reliable electricity, and even purchase a satellite internet connection, primarily for cooperative business but also opening a small window to the world. Evenings are lit now. Children might look at simple picture books, while mothers gather, sometimes discussing child-rearing ideas with Ethan or the nurse. Though born of extraordinary circumstances, the community radiates warmth and familial love. One evening, another feast erupts, this time celebrating a particularly successful harvest and a new contract secured by Ethan for their woven goods with a Fairtrade boutique in the U.S. What might have been a small acknowledgement before is now, with the children, a full-blown celebration. A bonfire crackles, casting dancing shadows on the adobe walls. Everyone shares food, music from a traditional flute fills the air, and children, bundled against the cool mountain night, chase each other until they tire. Inevitably, someone shouts, "Time to honor our Ethan again." Cheers rise, and he's gently but firmly lifted onto strong shoulders, paraded happily. "Ethan! Tata! Leader!" The calls merge. As he rides above the crowd, seeing the faces alight with joy, mothers, children, elders, the journey flashes through his mind, the despair in Chicago, the reckless quest, the near-fatal accident, the women's plea, the daunting decision, the unbelievable outcome. It actually happened. We did it. After the feast, Ethan walks to the edge of the village, gazing at the moonlit peaks under a canopy of stars. The air is thin and cold. A couple of mothers approach him. "Ethan, tomorrow we need to prepare the high field for quinoa." "Early start," one reminds him gently. Another adds, "My little one coughed much today. Can you look with nurse tomorrow?" "Of course," Ethan replies with a warm smile. First thing. Life here is undeniably hard work, a world away from his old comforts, but the shared purpose, the deep connections, the tangible results of their collective effort offer a richness he never knew before. He sees a cluster of toddlers, sleepy now, being carried home. All of them, my children, in a way, he thinks, the concept still staggering. Yet, the pride is deep, quiet, and profound. He sees the different generations of mothers interacting, older women patiently rocking babies, younger ones sharing jokes while keeping toddlers from wandering. The 30-somethings might be reviewing cooperative accounts by lamplight but are instantly alert to a child's cry. Everyone is busy, yet smiles are quick, and mutual support is instinctive. This village, once facing extinction, now pulses with young life. It has the potential to grow, perhaps cautiously integrating more with the outside world, maybe even welcoming new members who respect their unique way of life. That evolution is already subtly happening. As the years pass, formal schooling will become a necessity. The cooperative might expand further, requiring better logistics. Endless challenges, he thinks with a wry smile. But facing them together, with this extraordinary, resilient family, makes anything seem possible. One night, in the simple room he now calls home, Ethan watches one of the toddlers sleeping soundly in a small cot nearby. The child's mother sleeps peacefully on her own mat. Outside, the Andean wind whispers around the eaves. Father to almost 20 children. The thought still feels immense, almost unbelievable. But it is real. His heart swells with a complex, powerful emotion. He never could have predicted this outcome when he left Chicago seeking something more. Life's path is truly unknowable. If this story ever reached the wider world, it would sound like fiction. But for Ethan Cole and the contour women of this hidden Andean valley, it is their hard-won, cherished reality. The legacy of their choice, 32 women partnering with one man to ensure their people's survival, might eventually draw curious outsiders. By then, perhaps, the village will have basic infrastructure, a small school, better healthcare access, and be ready, on their own terms, to engage more with the world. Regardless, the Kuntur large family community endures. Ethan's role continues to evolve: leader, partner, father figure. Perhaps more children will be born, naturally now, within established relationships. Everything is fluid, yet anchored by the core truth: a dying community was reborn through an act of profound trust and cooperation. The sounds of children's laughter and the cheers when Ethan is playfully lifted high during celebrations are now the rhythm of their lives. Midday finds mother sorting quinoa, toddlers playing under the watchful eyes of elders, and Ethan perhaps on a satellite call discussing the next shipment of handicrafts. The majestic peak stands sentinel, the valley wind blows fresh and clean, and the women often reflect, laughing, our lives, so different now. Before, only silence. Now, children everywhere. Never a dull moment. The slightly awkward origin story remains, but overshadowed by pride in their collective survival. And during the next festival, maybe celebrating nothing more than the continued health of the children, Ethan will once again be hoisted onto shoulders, heavier now perhaps, amidst laughter and shouts of Papa. The children clap, recognizing their unique father figure. It's a living portrait of an extraordinary family. Ethan looks at the growing children and knows that someday, he will tell them the full story: you were born in a very special place, at a very special time. You have one father, but many strong mothers, and because of our choices then, our Kuntur people live on. How they will process this unique heritage remains to be seen, but growing up enveloped in such powerful community bonds, they will surely understand the deep meaning of family and belonging. And so, the Kuntur large family community, thriving amidst the high Andes, sustained by love, resilience, and their cooperative efforts, continues its remarkable journey. Thank you for watching today.